All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending our workshop. My name is Shay Northfield, and I'm an assistant regional planner at SCAG, and I work on the STBG and CMAQ program. We have various SCAG staff attending today. In the room with me is Warren Whitaker, Denise Sifford, Pablo Gutierrez, and we have Anil Eichelberger online. And I will pass it over to Ben for a quick introduction.
Hi, I'm Ben Koo. I'm a formula funding section manager here at OCTA, and I'll be doing the OCTA portion of the presentation after SCAG is done.
Great, thanks, Ben. A few administrative reminders before we get started. To make the best use of our time, we will primarily take questions at the end, so feel free to drop questions in the chat throughout the workshop. We will not be responding to project-specific eligibility questions, primarily because so many of those conversations can be nuanced, but these can be directed to SCAG staff, County Transportation Commission staff, or Caltrans local assistance staff via email or as part of the office hours opportunities. The program guidelines cover much of the information that we are sharing in these workshops. These are available on the program website, which we will link in the chat. Couple of background notes. SCAG is responsible for the selection of projects to be funded with both Service Transportation Block Grant, or STBG, and Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Improvement, or CMAQ, program funds. Prior to SCAG taking on this role, as directed by the federal government, it was done by the County Transportation Commissions for the last 3 decades. Given their legacy, the guidelines and workshop were developed in coordination with the County Transportation Commissions. Under the new SCAG process, you can expect that we will be doing a call every other year. Because this is an ongoing opportunity, we encourage you all to be strategic in what you apply for and take full advantage of these workshops, county-specific workshops, and office hours as you prepare for your applications. And now I will pass it over to Denise.
Okay, thank you. And hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. If you were able to attend our general program workshops that were hosted on March 12th and March 18th, this will be an abbreviated version of the information that's been shared there. We also have the slide deck posted on the program webpage now, and we're in the process of getting the recording posted for those, as well as a frequently asked questions document based off of the Q&A discussions. So for this workshop, we really do want to give the County Transportation Commission staff the opportunity to share about their prioritization framework and any requirements and considerations for applicants that are specific to Orange County today. So first, SCAG will spend about 20 minutes sharing a bit of a process overview, eligibility information, funding availability, and schedule, and we'll go through the evaluation criteria for the program one more time. And since we do have a shorter time frame schedule today, again, we'll have the Q&A following the County Transportation Commission presentation. So this slide, it provides an overview of the federal funding process. Both STBG and CMAQ programs are federal transportation fund sources that come through Federal Highways Administration. The available funds are distributed to the region by SCAG through the call for projects process. SCAG's first call was completed last year in June 2024, and this workshop is focusing on the upcoming call, where our objective, again, is to provide some context for potential applicants that will guide their decision on whether or not to complete an application for this funding opportunity. As Shay mentioned earlier, SCAG does anticipate conducting a call for the STBG and CMAQ funds every odd year. Once projects are selected and awarded funding, they will be required to be programmed in the FTIP. And as you might already know, this process is conducted by SCAG in coordination with the County Transportation Commissions and any implementing agencies. This FTIP approval process can take anywhere from a few weeks to a few months. Following FTIP programming, implementing agencies will work directly with their Caltrans local assistance district through the obligation process. And this process also depends on the phase of work that the funds are being requested for, but at minimum can take at least 3 months or more. Once the funds are obligated, then the implementing agency can begin work and start to incur eligible expenses. Those expenses are invoiced to Caltrans local assistance for reimbursement. So you can see that this federal funding process is very involved, takes time. And so these are some of the considerations that potential applicants should look at when deciding whether or not to complete an application for federal funds. And again, just to reiterate, SCAG does not directly participate in the obligation or reimbursement process. All forms and submittals must go through Caltrans local assistance and are subject to Caltrans review and applicable federal aid requirements. So, in general, eligible applicants include cities, counties in the SCAG region, transit agencies, federally recognized tribal governments, and county transportation commissions. And while federal aid master agreements are not a requirement to submit an application, the funds cannot be accessed or programmed without an executed master agreement with Caltrans. This process in itself may take a couple of months at minimum. So, if an applicant has received federal transportation funds before, they might already have a federal aid master agreement in place. That's definitely something worth checking. For transit projects that are intending to transfer STBG and or CMAQ funding to the Federal Transit Administration or FTA, this requirement might not apply, but we are asking that those applicants coordinate with their respective county transportation commission on roles and responsibilities of direct and subrecipients related to FTA transfer procedures. And we have those links up on the slide also related to master agreements. Generally, the STBG funding is considered to be the most flexible in terms of eligible activities. It's meant to support preservation and improvements to the conditions of highways, bridges, public roads, pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure, and transit capital projects. For the STBG program, projects must be located on a roadway that meets a minimum functional classification, and specifically, projects on a local road or rural minor collector would generally not be eligible. We have linked on here also the Caltrans functional classification website, and that includes a GIS data viewer that you can check the functional classification of a roadway that may be included in your draft scope of work. The CMAQ program was established to fund transportation projects and programs that contribute to the reduction of criteria air pollutants. This funding program does require that an emissions benefits calculation is submitted alongside the application, and we'll share more about some of the tools that are available to meet this requirement later in the presentation. We have included also here some examples of commonly ineligible projects and activities under the CMAQ program. So some of these include routine maintenance projects, landscaping, recreational trails that don't have a transportation use, and ADA retrofits. And for the next few slides, I'm going to hand it off to Anna.
Thank you, Denise. Hi, everyone. My name is Anna, and I'm an intern here at SCAG, and I will be speaking to you remotely about funding. So this call for projects will make a combined $1.2 billion in STBG and CMAQ funding available. The years for funding availability are federal fiscal year 2026 to 27 and federal fiscal year 2027 to 2028. As shared earlier, there is a minimum match requirement of 11.47%. The match requirement is dependent on project type and certain project types, such as tolling projects or toll lanes require a higher match percentage of 20%. Match may be included as part of some county prioritization frameworks, so please also verify if there are any county-specific considerations that apply. This match requirement can be met with either cash match, in other words, other non-federal funding, or toll credits. Toll credits are managed at the state level and are subject to availability. If you are requesting toll credits, project sponsors should be prepared to provide a cash match in the event toll credits are not available or approved by Caltrans. SCAG does not have the ability to provide matching funds or replacement funds. Again, this program is distributed through reimbursement, meaning that awarded agencies must have sufficient cash flow to front the project costs and have the technical and administrative capacity to prepare invoices for eligible costs that can be processed for reimbursement. So this schedule is also available on the program webpage. The program guidelines were approved by the SCAG Regional Council on March 6th, and these are also available on the program webpage now. The application portal will go live on March 31st, and the application due date is going to be on May 16th at 5 p.m. For SCAG office hours, we have a sign-up link available on our program webpage. It's first come, first serve, and it's an opportunity for project-specific support. These are going to be 25-minute sessions, and they're available every Monday and Tuesday in April. And depending on the demand, we'll probably be able to add more availability to the schedule. The CTC prioritization deadline of August 1st is only applicable to county transportation commissions, and following that will be the application evaluation period. And SCAG anticipates presenting award recommendations to the SCAG Regional Council by the end of the calendar year 2025. For awarded projects, coordination on FTIP programming will follow the awards. Great. Now I will be handing it back over to Shay with the evaluation criteria and rubric.
Thanks, Anna. So here is the program scoring rubric. We will go into more detail on each of these scoring criteria. The air quality improvements and cost effectiveness criteria will only be evaluated for CMAQ eligible applications. CMAQ projects can score up to 110 total points, and STBG projects can score up to 100 total points. The CTC prioritization criteria is based on a ranking that each county transportation commission assigns to project applications within their county. The county transportation commissions are required to develop a framework for how these projects are prioritized within their county. Each application will receive a ranking of highly recommended, recommended, contingency list, or not recommended. These rankings will be translated to a score of up to 50 points as part of SCAG's evaluation criteria. Each prioritization framework will be made available on the CTC's website, and some CTCs will require supplemental questions to be answered within your applications. This is the portion of the application that includes county-specific considerations, and County Transportation Commission staff will be sharing more information about this following the SCAG portion of the workshop. The second evaluation criteria is called regional priorities, which are based off of SCAG's regional priorities outlined in our Connect SoCal 2024 and our presidential goals and objectives. Each Tier 1 priority category is outlined on this slide. The project types that fall within these Tier 1 categories will receive the maximum of 20 points available. Appendix B of the guidelines offer examples of project types that may fall under each of these categories. We realize that there may be some nuances where project components are combined or may fall under more than one category. We recommend selecting the category that aligns most with your primary project type. If you're not sure where your project fits, please reach out to SCAG staff and we can provide clarification. The Tier 2 regional priority categories on this slide will receive 10 of the possible 20 points. Additionally, Tier 2 projects may receive an additional 5 points, so up to 15 points total, if the applicant can demonstrate a systems approach to identifying and managing needs. The Complete Streets category includes active transportation projects. Examples of this include a transportation-related natural lands preservation plan, a county or city pavement management plan or program, and/or a county or city complete streets plan or program. Within this call, there's a greater focus on federal performance management areas, which comprise up to 20 points of the scoring rubric. In short, federal performance management areas are a federally established set of national transportation performance measures that correspond to federal transportation planning goals. Typically, these are set at state and regional levels where they are incorporated within each regional transportation plan. Application questions are structured to collect information about the potential impact that individual projects can have on these federal performance management areas, which are outlined on this slide. Applicants may select which federal performance management areas their project best aligns with, and will have the opportunity to provide general responses as well as specific data that supports the project's ability to improve these areas. That said, applications will be considered more competitive if they are able to demonstrate a data-based improvement rather than a general response. In the same way, projects that demonstrate a significant improvement to at least one area will be considered more competitive. More information is available in Appendix C of our program guidelines. The Community Economic Development Benefits Evaluation criteria provides up to 10 possible points of the application's total score. Applicants will review a list of 10 strategies that have been determined to provide community economic development benefits and identify which ones are incorporated into the scope of the proposed project. These strategies are identified in Appendix D of the program guidelines. Some of these strategies are specifically targeted to the geographic areas referred to as areas of persistent poverty and historically disadvantaged communities. The Build Grant Project Location Verification Mapping tool is provided as a reference to identify these geographic areas. Applicants will need to provide a supplemental narrative demonstrating how their project employs or incorporates the strategies selected. Projects that capture 4 or more of the identified benefits will receive the full points. Projects that include 1 to 3 strategies will receive 5 of the 10 possible points. As mentioned, CMAQ eligible projects have the ability to capture up to 10 additional points in this area. 8 of those points will be awarded by demonstrating cost effectiveness related to similar projects. Since the cost effectiveness calculation uses a total of annual emissions reductions, we are also requesting documentation of the emissions data. This data will not be scored directly, but will be used as context on the cost effectiveness responses provided. The FHWA CMAQ toolkit will be the required methodology. There are 18 tools available, so we will only accept a different methodology if the proposed project type isn't captured by the available tools. Additionally, federal guidance requires that particulate matter 2.5 reducing projects be prioritized for CMAQ funding. Therefore, an additional 2 points will be awarded to the top 50% of PM 2.5 reducing projects. Overall, the air quality improvement benefits and cost effectiveness responses are optional, but it does present an opportunity to receive additional points. If you are struggling with whether or not to complete this section or how to complete it, please reach out to your respective County Transportation Commission staff. Some may have resources or technical assistance available. Please note that any project selected for CMAQ funding must complete the air quality analysis to be programmed in the FTIP. And shown here is the FHWA cost effectiveness calculation, which will be required to respond to this criteria. The annual air quality improvements will be derived from the air quality benefits analysis. As mentioned previously, as of July 2023, SCAG has assumed the responsibility for the STBG and CMAQ project selection, which was a result of a federal corrective action. In order to comply with the approved federal corrective action plan, any project that is programmed with STBG or CMAQ funding after December 2026 will need to be SCAG selected. SCAG selection is defined as either awarded or on the contingency list in our prior call for projects in June 2024, or is defined as awarded or on the contingency list in this upcoming call process. Projects that have not obligated their STBG or CMAQ funding and do not meet the SCAG selected criteria will not be allowed to have STBG or CMAQ funds programmed in the 2027 FTIP. If a project has not obligated its funds and has not been SCAG selected by this deadline, its funding will be considered lapsed, meaning the unclaimed funds will become available for reprogramming to other SCAG selected projects. However, projects that were programmed in earlier federal fiscal years and no longer require new obligations will be grandfathered into the system. These projects will not need to go through the selection process again unless additional funding is needed. SCAG encourages projects on the contingency list from the last call to reapply in this call in order to strengthen their application and secure funding. If you have any questions regarding the status of your project, please reach out to SCAG staff. We included here some links to references used during today's presentation. Most of these will also be incorporated into the program guidelines and application guidebook. And a link to the workshop presentation will be on the SCAG website after the workshops. Thank you for coming to today's presentation. Our team's contact information is on here if you have questions you want to ask via email. And there also is a general email box that is received by the whole team. And at this time, we will turn it over to Ben, your County Transportation Commission staff, to share some important information specific to the applicants for your county.
Great. All right, thanks very much. So yes, my name is Ben Koo. I'm a Formula Funding Section Manager here at OCTA. And as Shay mentioned, I'll be giving a quick presentation on OCTA's ranking criteria and supplemental questions. I did give a similar presentation at the Technical Advisory Committee late February, so you might have seen part of this already. So this is the schedule. This is basically the same as what SCAG provided, but we did include some OCTA only milestones, or at least I guess Orange County specific milestones. The ones in particular to note would be that, yes, all the applications are due to OCTA May 16th, and from May 16th to June 20th, that's when OCTA will be reviewing and scoring our projects. And June 20th, then we will submit, we will start drafting our board of directors board item, and that will be going to the OCTA board for approval of the prioritization July 14th, at least that's our plan. And then subsequently, we would then submit to SCAG our recommendations August 1st. And then after SCAG reviews and approves, then after December, yeah, the FTIP process would start, and OCTA could definitely assist with all the programming of the projects in the FTIP at that point. So also, as SCAG mentioned, OCTA's priority, or I guess role in this whole process, is to do these 4 things. Basically look for eligibility, provide county priorities, evaluate projects based on community stakeholder engagement, and then of course the deliverability and readiness. And the way we are doing that is we have so this slide kind of shows where we came up with some of our prioritization scoring. So we looked at a variety of documents and other reports that we have. The big ones are listed here. So we looked through the OCTA's 2025 board and CEO initiatives and action plan. That is the one on the far right. Additionally, we looked through the OCTA's long range transportation plan. We considered our own guidance regarding our policies for STBG and CMAQ. And really the biggest thing was the letters of interest. So back in November, OCTA sent out some requests for letters of interest, and we received a decent amount of letters from the city, so we appreciate that. And we used all this information to come up with our part 1 of OCTA's prioritization. This is our application preference. So this is kind of the first round of, well, I guess it's the second cycle of this funding, but it's a big change on how we did it previously. I have been kind of describing this program as the second round of the Orange County Complete Streets program. So if you guys did work on that, this is very similar in process, but it does have a new set of rules. And the first one being this, this part 1 of scoring. So there's 4 sections, and basically if the application receives 75 or more points in these 4 questions, then the project will go on to part 2 of the scoring criteria. So that would mean any project just has to hit 3 of these basically to go on. If the project does not receive 75 or more points, then our recommendations for that project would be not recommended. So the first one is, is the applicant a local jurisdiction, a city, a county, Metrolink, LoSAN, or OCTA? And if it is, get 25 points. Is the request within 500,000 minimum and 7 million for funding? Then you also get 25 points. And if you basically limit your number of submittals to 3 projects and you rank them, you get 25 points. And if your project is in our long range plan, then you can get 25 points. One thing to note is I've been told that this is the 2022 long range plan. I put the wrong number, but it is called Directions 2045. So if you get 3 of these, then you move on. So part 2 is where we then look at specific aspects of individual projects. And the first section is the county priorities / project types. And this is 50 points if your project type is a road rehab project on arterials. Additionally, if it's a transit project, you get 50 points. And the reason why we chose 50 points for this as the first priority is because mostly the letters of interest. We received a lot of requests for road rehab projects throughout the county. So we wanted to prioritize them. Additionally, as you can see in the second priority, we have complete streets projects, also active transportation. This is 40 points, so it's slightly less, but it's still, a second priority. The reason why this is a second priority is because the previous call was entirely for complete streets. So we're kind of going to do a rotation, at least the first 2 cycles. So first cycle was complete streets. This is going to be road rehab. And then the third priority includes a variety of projects that we did see on the letters of interest. Signal synchronization projects, road widening, safety projects, planning studies. One thing to note about the letters of interest that I do seem to mention a lot is we're not going to hold any of the cities to those projects that were submitted. We just use it for our own information purposes. So if the city submitted a letter of interest with very specific projects, but wanted to change your mind for this call, perfectly fine. After the county priorities, that's when we get into some more county priorities, specifically air quality, environmental benefits. Then the project can receive up to 5 points for providing background information on that. Additionally, local match is a component. I know SCAG mentioned that the minimum local match for the project is 11.47 or 20% for transit projects, but we are going to provide extra points for an overmatch based on documentation also. And then finally, the last 2 sections are community engagement and deliverability and readiness. A lot of this is asking for backup documents on community support. So if you have like letters of support from the community or from neighboring cities, feel free to attach those documentation. The deliverability and readiness section has very similar questions as well. The application process that we are creating through the supplemental questions will have a section where you can upload documents, but also SCAG's database has a section for that too. So that would help us determine the points, and then we're going to convert those points into a recommendation, and that would be then provided to SCAG, as you can see. So we would either provide a highly recommend, contingency list, or not recommend. And then, yeah, these are some of the next steps with projects being due to OCTA March 31st. And then, the application database opening on March 31st, and the projects being due May 16th. So I think that concludes my presentation. And here's a bunch of links for information, pretty similar to what Shay put up for their presentation. But yeah, we do have a website. It's right here. It will have this presentation. It also has OCTA's board item. It has links to SCAG's website. It has my contact information, as well as Mina, who will be assisting in this call. But yeah, I think that is all I had. So I think we have plenty of time for questions. So I think we can go into those. Oh, geez, a lot of questions. Warren, how do you want to do these questions?
So Ben, so far I think I've been able to address all the ones in the comments. The last couple I think are kind of directed toward OCTA. So I think as we go through, so I think Melissa's, I addressed part of it. There's a question that's a little bit more specific to OCTA, and then Elsa from Tustin had some questions for you, and then Quang, I think also is OCTA specific, but I will let you jump in, and then if it seems that this is more of an OCTA, yeah, maybe we'll tag team
Okay.
as appropriate, but I think and then please have in the chat, if we didn't address your questions above, just please put it back in or raise your hand if there's additional follow-up, and then we can call on you or unmute you so that you can speak. But I think you're in the driver's seat still,
Great.
Ben.
Okay, it looks like Elsa from Tustin. Hello, I got your previous email, but yes, looks like you have some questions. Are all questions under Part 2 applicable to non-construction projects such as planning documents and studies? Yes, it might not score as well, unfortunately, but they are. So these types of things will be kind of more subjective. So you could provide backup documentation, and there's going to be a text box where you could kind of add additional information. But yes, every question is applicable to all projects, including planning only type projects. Question 2, can you clarify the definition of a plan? Okay, yes. So we are, let's see, is your project included in a plan? Yeah, so for certain projects, city pavement management plan, general plan, those things would definitely qualify. Is there a specific time frame that applies to the city's history for the following question? Successfully, no, there is no time frame, although generally the more recent would be more applicable. If something was, the city, delivered something 30 years ago, might not be as useful. We're just trying to show that the city is capable of processing federal projects, because the federal process is cumbersome, to say the least, requiring a lot of documents, a lot of reporting, and we have encountered issues. Really, the whole SCAG region has encountered issues with projects and agencies not being able to go forward because they just are unaware of the scope of the federal process. So that's kind of what that question is about. But I think we have another text box for that. So explanations would be good to put in those text boxes. Let's see. Is there a breakdown of how to obtain the 50 points for rehab projects, or all submitted projects eligible for the 50? Yes. So in the first section of the second section, the priorities, if a project is a road rehab project, it'll get the full 50 points. If it's complete streets, it'll get 40 points. If a project has both road rehab and complete streets, we're just going to give it the maximum of 50 points. So that's how that point works, or that section works. It is not as subjective as the other ones. So those are entirely based on the type of project. So let's see. Deanne from the city of Orange. We currently have approval funding from the Orange County Complete Streets for PSNE right away and construction for phase 1 of our bike project. Can we apply for funding to complete the rest of this project? I think that's mostly a question for the Complete Streets call, because it sounds like you have a shortfall. And I want to say the previous complete streets call doesn't fund shortfalls. Also, if we need more money to finish out
Ben, I'm just going to interject here. It would be eligible from SCAG's perspective. I know there's nuances at OCTA, but just wanted to show in, plug in SCAG's perspective.
Got it. That's true. I know there's a kind of a two-part process here, but feel free to email me separately and we can kind of discuss that. Let's see, can we apply for funding to complete the rest? Also, if we need more money to finish out the environmental okay, yeah, email me later. Thanks. Don't the second and third bullets limit OC money as compared to other counties applying under SCAG? Huh. I guess if there may be any changes. Second and third bullet.
So, is this Melissa's?
Correct. That's what I'm looking at.
I think probably the part of the perspective there is to get maximum points from OCTA under their prioritization process. It's supposed to be in that envelope, the 7 or what was it? 500,000. What was your floor? Whatever the floor is and the ceiling, to get the maximum OCTA points, you have to be between the floor and the ceiling.
Yeah.
I don't believe that OCTA would disallow a project that would exceed that envelope. It just, you wouldn't receive the maximum points. Is that correct, Ben?
Well, yeah. So if you submit a project that's over 7 million in request, then you would not get the 25 points in the first part of the scoring. But if you receive 75 in the other 3, then yeah, you could totally request more money. If that makes any sense.
I'm sorry, can I clarify the question or should we stay on mute?
No,
Sure.
you can.
So my understanding is we need for that phase 1 prioritization, we need 75 points. So let's say SCAG said there's no limit on dollar amount and no limit on the number of projects. So if we were to submit 4 projects, 3 of which are for 50 or 500,000 minimum, but 1 of which is for 8 million, we would not be able to catch those 75 points because we would have over 3 applications and we would be over the dollar amount. Is that correct? That, I guess I'm asking about the phase 1.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And there's no plan for OCTA to change that in light of the SCAG. It kind of contradicts with SCAG's guidelines.
It doesn't contradict it. So OCTA, we have a very small staff against me and my and Mina. So we wanted to add limits to the number of applications that agencies could submit. SCAG said we can't do that, which is, part of the rules. So that's great. But we included this to kind of limit applications in this way. So if you do limit all your projects to 500 or 7 million and are a city, let's say your city, and the project is in the LRTP, then you could submit more than 3 applications and vice versa. Like if you could go over the 7 million if you only submit 3 projects. Does that make sense?
Thank you so much.
Great, thanks.
And just to follow up to that, Melissa, just recall too that we're going to be doing these calls every odd year. So 25, 27, 29, and so forth. So there'll be additional opportunities to access these funds, and without the crystal ball of knowing what continuing resolution or new federal authorization will be, likely the neighborhood of funding availability will be something similar to this in roughly the $1 billion dollar amount of combined CMAQ STBG, looking at 2 years of apportionment for the entire SCAG region. So just keep that in mind as well. Thanks.
Looks like Zach has a question on city council resolutions, and Warren did say SCAG doesn't require them. OCTA doesn't require them either. And is that it? Did I get through all of them? Oh, maybe a new one. Can M2 funds be used for a city's 11.47% match? Yes. You
It's
just
not
can't
a,
match.
yeah, it's not an issue for SCAG. It's if there's a prohibition on that slice of M2 funds from OCTA.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on what the M2 funds were used for. I mean, if it's assigned to a specific project and it's not that project, then obviously no. But I think you guys get fair share anyway, so that would be fine. Can we unmute to ask a clarification question
If
regarding
you
funding?
hand it, it'll allow Jennifer to unmute you, to know who to unmute.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, hi Ben, sorry, we didn't know if you were on mute. Here, City of Tustin, we just wanted to clarify the funding request amount. Did you meant to say it's a $7 million request per application or the total number of the 3 applications?
It's per application.
Okay. So combined, it could be greater than 7 million.
Yeah, I mean,
requests.
if you have 3 projects that are 7 million, it's 21 million.
Oh, good. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Any questions I didn't answer?
And then Elsa, you still have your hand up if you want to drop that.
Yeah, one question I have been receiving is the submittal is a kind of a 2 submittal process. So the cities are going to log into the database that'll be live on the 31st, enter in all the information in that database, and then by May 16th, click on submit, and then that goes directly to OCTA, it goes to me, and that's when I review it. So it's the same database that we receive, and then we will also then submit to SCAG through the same one. Hopefully that clarifies things.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Ben. And so part of the reason of that is a component of our EFTIP database, same one that OCTA uses. They have, they also use the same vendor for their portion of the Federal Transportation Improvement Program. But by having this as a module to that overall system, it allows us to essentially promote the projects that are selected for funding and then bring them right over into the FTIP. So a lot of the legwork won't have to be done twice. It'll already be done in this call process. And then because we already have it in the system, we'll figure out the next time. So in 2027, if you're applying for the same project, if you're so situated that you might need to do that, we could explore exactly how that might work because, we're all learning on this. And this is the first time that we're using that, but perhaps that may even streamline subsequent applications. But we'll figure out that nuance overall. But just wanted to highlight that ultimately this should be a time savings for those of you that are selected and then programmed.
Yeah, another thing to kind of piggyback off of that is while it is the same database, unfortunately, I believe everyone does need to create a new account. We were given the option to kind of transfer over all the accounts, but I think we were told you'd have to change your password anyways. And there's a lot of accounts that are inactive anyways. So yeah, you just need to kind of sign up again and create a new password. It's not too hard. I tried it a little bit ago.
Thanks, Ben. That's a great transition into what we're going to go through next, which is a very brief overview of the application website. So I'm going to walk us through kind of the general high-level parts of the application, and then we'll close with another round of Q&A. So feel free to continue to put additional questions in the chat. All right, so here is the landing page for the application. When you click on the link, And as Ben mentioned, you will go to sign up and you'll enter in your information. Your organization will be your city or municipality. If your organization is not on this list, you can click new and it will be added. So you can click a organization and then your county will auto-populate for the requested plans. So you'll click OCTA. Requested access level will be sponsored. And then for requested project access, you will click My Organization's Projects. If you do have consultants that will need access to the application, we do just ask that you send SCAG an email at ftip@scag.ca.gov to request that additional access. And all of this information is also in the application guidebook. So the application is going to go live on the 31st. So I'm going to go back to the test site to show you all what that will look like. And once you're in the application, you will click New Project. Plan cycle, it will auto-populate for Orange County. And then you will click Plan Revision here. And then here, the ID will be auto-generated, so you can leave that blank. I'm just going to label this as test, but you're going to put a brief description in the title. You're going to select the project type, and information on the different project types is in the program guidelines. Lead agency, I clicked Imperial for the demonstration, but this will show the Orange County agencies. And then your county, and then a brief description. And then you'll click Create Project. So once you are in the application, there are 6 tabs that you will navigate through to answer the various questions for the application. The first tab is the Programming tab. This will have general project information as well as questions for some additional information as well. And if you would like to reference a full demo of this application, we have that recorded from our SCAG workshops, and that will be posted on the SCAG website soon. You can disregard the Map tab, and if you would like to upload maps to the application, you can do that in the Attachment tab. For the ID tabs, you can add any relevant RTP, FTIP, or federal project ID by clicking Add ID. And then you'll add any attachments to this attachment tabs. You can click select files. Please name them while you are attaching them here. And the CTC supplemental questions that Ben referenced earlier will be added to the attachment tab. You can ignore the revision history. That won't be applicable for this phase of the process. And then the final tab is the project questions tab. And this is a variety of additional questions. And I'm going to scroll to the bottom just to show you all what the CTC section is and what that will look like. So here is the County Transportation Commission supplemental questions. When the website launches, you'll see a link for these and you'll be able to click on the OCTA questions here, and then you will be attaching them to the attachment section. And then there will be a certification at the end. While you're working in the application, if you want to leave and come back to the application, you can click Save Changes. And it will also show you the missing requirements that you have not yet completed that are required fields for submitting the application. So you can see that on the upper left, and it'll also pop up when you are submitting it if you have missing fields that you need to enter. And then one thing to note is that when you are saving and coming back later, the next time you enter it, the fields will be uneditable until you click edit in this top right corner. So you will need to go ahead and click edit to resume. And then once you have saved changes, you can go to that blue submit button at the top right next to save changes, and that is where you will submit your application. So that concludes the demo that we're doing for this workshop. Again, if you would like to reference a full demo, you can do so on our website shortly. It will be posted shortly in the future. So I will go ahead and stop sharing here. And at this time, we will see if there's any additional questions, either for CTC staff or SCAG staff. So you can put any questions in the chat or use the raise hand feature.
I just want to also, while people are coming up with questions, either raising their hand or putting in the chat, as Shay indicated, just wanted to also kind of do a little bit of follow up on a couple of questions. So there were a couple of things in the chat about, if these are federal fiscal year, 2027, federal fiscal year 2027 or 2028 funds, and maybe you're even programmed out in that later year and you're ready to move sooner. Is there a prohibition from moving sooner? And as indicated, you're not. And in fact, there is a whole procedure within the FTIP guidelines that, as long as there's apportionment available and the obligation authority available, you can obligate earlier. So that is not so much the issue. And as Ben will attest to, sometimes there are needs to get projects to obligate earlier, move projects from the outer years, because not everybody delivers as scheduled, because things come up, things happen. So that is a very real and distinct possibility. However, these are federal funds, and they also need to follow the local assistance procedure manual that is available from Caltrans. We can have follow-up discussions if you need, or it can help to connect you to the right people at Caltrans to go in some of those detailed questions. So that also touches on, like, if you have a cost overrun in a specific area and kind of the nuance. So like if you are under construction and you need additional construction funds, that might be a problem if the project's not already federalized, or you didn't use well, if it's you're using like M2 and you realize you need additional, and you didn't follow a NEPA, you didn't utilize NEPA, or you don't have NEPA for the project, it's not already federalized, and you didn't follow local assistance procedure manual in how you procured the contractor. So if you have questions on specifics of that type, you can either reach out to Ben or his colleagues, or to us, or even Caltrans on those. So, but just wanted to highlight some of those nuances. Unfortunately, although it is a decent sized pot of funds, it also comes with a lot of strings. So just wanted to remind everybody of that. So thanks.
Thank you everyone for attending our workshop today. We will stay on for a few more minutes for any additional questions. Oh, looks like we did get a question pop up.
Yeah, so every project that's in ultimately gets programmed in the Federal Transportation Improvement Program, or FTIP, is essentially assumed to be in escalated dollars, so that when you're coming up with what the cost estimates are, that you're factoring in what are the, like, how much will labor costs increase, what will be the increase in construction costs. So Caltrans has a construction cost index for highway elements. You can go into there and really kind of break down into the details and trying to understand, like, inflation or escalation rates on different material types, everything from steel to concrete, and depending on what happens with all of the tariffs and that, there's probably a fair amount of uncertainty on what's going on with some of those cost components. So it's probably to your benefit of escalating costs on the right way. Yeah, I think I could just leave it at that.
I can take this. All right, so seeing a question about the plan revision and project access sponsor. The plan revision is an auto-populated field for that part of the application. And I will just say overall, and for the specific question, we will be publishing an application guidebook that will go step by step through each different field, what you will need to input depending on your access. So if you have additional questions about that, unique questions, feel free to send us an email and we can talk through it further. Thanks.
AV, can you please put up the SCAG slide deck with our contact information?
So we're gonna hang out for another minute or two, but I think that's kind of end of any of the formal. And if you have any last questions, please raise your hand or put it in the chat. Otherwise, thank you for attending, and we look forward to seeing your applications.
Thanks.
Okay, Ben, so it looks like there are not any more questions. So thanks to you, Lewis, Mina. I don't know, do we have any other OCTA staff on?
Yeah, there's a bunch of us that will be working for Lewis, or do work for Lewis, and they're going to actually submit the OCTA projects. So they wanted to learn about the program.
Okay, yep. Sounds good. Well, thanks. Good job.
Thank you. Bye.